Hello and welcome to the New World Review, your source for everything anime and manga. And today we are back with Hunter x Hunter, quite specifically to discuss one of the many profound mysteries that have been left lingering by series author Yoshihiro Togashi. And a lot of these lingering mysteries can range from mildly intriguing to potentially world-shaking to, of course, greatly frustrating, because the likelihood of ever being fed the answers is next to none. Because the thing to remember about Hunter x Hunter is that even when the series was being published regularly, Togashi very purposely leaves certain characters, plots, or concepts completely unfinished, and whether that's because he prefers ambiguity or he just gets bored of writing certain things is entirely up for debate. Whatever the case happens to be, we are here to explore what we know about the concept of the Floor Masters of Heaven's Arena, as well as the Battle Olympia tournament. Quite possibly one of the most exciting global events in Hunter x Hunter that we never came close and will never come close to witnessing. And to begin our mysterious exploration, we're going to have a quick round of Chrollo or Kroll No, a very simple minigame, the rules of which are as follows. Mr. Sneaky Phantom Man has decided to hide himself in one of these three jars, and it is going to be your job to guess which jar Chrollo is lurking in. Should you guess incorrectly, then your punishment will be to subscribe to the New World Review, thus resulting in consistent injections of Hunter x Hunter culture administered straight into your YouTube feed. And if you are correct, then you will be invited to join the Phantom Troop, maybe, but probably not. So which jar will it be? A, B, or the other one? Please do make your choice now, and we shall reveal the answer in 3, 2, 1, and bam, that sneaky Chrollo was in jar B. So if you chose A or C, then you know things to do, and please do say hi in the comments below if you are a new member of the channel. Welcome. Sticking with Chrollo though, he leads quite nicely into this mystery because anime fans may or may not be aware of this, but Mr. Lucifer is actually a canon Floor Master of Heaven's Arena, or at least he was. His status is, it's kind of vague these days, but we will get to that. The first thing we need to do is establish exactly what a Floor Master is. Within the Heaven's Arena facility, the top 21 floors are reserved for one combatant each. A person who has gone through the grueling progression of floors 1 through floor 229, although I will say that in the series, most of that journey didn't seem like a particular challenge for Gon and Killua, but you need to remember that Gon and Killua are Gon and Killua. But even your above average, naturally talented martial artist like say Zushi is going to have a tough task ahead. With that said, Zushi was already deliberately handicapped by Wing not allowing him to use Ren, but to also be fair, that is a very cheesy win condition against non-Nen users. And that is something we should also address. Despite Heaven's Arena acting as a sort of global combat mecca, it would appear that Nen users are incredibly uncommon until we reach the 200th floor, at which point you are just a few short steps away from being eligible to challenge a Floor Master in a match. In order to do this, a combatant must win 10 matches on the 200th floor, which gives them the right to challenge a Floor Master of their choosing. Or actually, I'm not entirely sure if that's the case. It's kind of vague like most things in the series. In both the anime and the manga, it just says that it gives the contestant the ability to challenge a Floor Master, so that might be assigned at random, or in order of whichever master is on the lowest floor, something like that. In any case, if you defeat one, then the successful challenger will be awarded the title and status of Floor Master, an illustrious position in the eyes of the general public because it makes you look like you're one of the 21 strongest fighters in the world. However, within the greater context of Hunter x Hunter, the strength of the Floor Masters is incredibly questionable in comparison to that of professional hunters, world-renowned criminals, or even strange anthropomorphic ants. All of which really does make Heaven's Arena look like a bit of a child's playground in retrospect, which is why I suppose our two child protagonists used it as sort of a kindergarten Nen course. With that said, beyond the 200th floor is a mixed bag of Nen users, some of which are complete jokes, whilst others are to be taken incredibly seriously, and in fact the only canon Floor Masters that we know of in Hunter x Hunter fall into that latter category. The first of which is someone that we're all quite uncomfortably familiar with, being Mr. Hisoka. Be he clown, magician, or both, we were actually lucky enough to witness the fight that allowed him to challenge a Floor Master, which was his bout against Gon. And after defeating a child with a fishing rod, Hisoka eventually invoked his own invitation and evidently defeated whichever Floor Master he faced, thus acquiring the title for himself, as we see in manga events beyond the anime. And oh yeah, it might be a little late to flag this, but yes, this video will contain manga spoilers, because I mean look, the anime ended 7 years ago now, and it's my sad duty to inform you that it won't be coming back anytime soon, perhaps at all. But all of that said, Hisoka's Floor Master status was revealed to us alongside another being Chrollo. Unfortunately, Chrollo's journey is far more unknown. In fact, it is completely unknown. In the manga, all that is stipulated is that Hisoka was the one who arranged the match, and it was his very first as a Floor Master. Meanwhile, Chrollo already held this title, which is one of those really interesting contradictions that pops up in time to time from Hunter x Hunter. You know, the fact that Chrollo can be a global celebrity and participate in televised combat, and yet also be one of the most highly sought after criminals in the world. Like, you'd think that the very fact that he's in Heaven's Arena would cause a national scale operation to try and apprehend him, but no, he can just do whatever. With all of that said, it's also entirely possible that Chrollo only became a Floor Master for the purpose of fighting against Hisoka in Heaven's Arena. That location was the key factor in Chrollo's strategy for defeating the Mad Clown thing, and it simply would not have worked on any other battlefield. And the more I think about it, the more likely it is that becoming a Floor Master was just yet another small piece in Chrollo's master plan, which I think doesn't say particularly great things about Heaven's Arena. You know, the fact that if required, a powerful and experienced Nen user can rather simply reach its pinnacle with very minimal effort. Because I guess the thing is that our only two canon Floor Masters are Chrollo and Hisoka, but even so, that is incredibly misrepresentative of Floor Masters in general. And we do actually have something of a rough gauge of their average level, which is embodied within Castro. Remember Castro? Probably not, because in retrospect he is incredibly irrelevant, and the fact that there were two of him only doubles his forgettability. All of which is to say that Castro is the closest possible comparison we have to your general Floor Master. In fact, Castro's 200th floor record was technically better than Hisoka's because he had 9 wins and 1 loss, as opposed to Hisoka's 8 wins and 3 losses. And it should be noted that all of Hisoka's losses were forfeits against Castro because Hisoka wanted him to continue to grow and become much more of a juicy opponent to eventually kill. You know, the standard Hisoka stuff. But catching Hisoka's attention is not an easy thing to do. Like during the election arc, he was scoffing at almost every professional hunter bar the Zodiacs, so Castro, look, in reality, he's not all that bad. However, with that said, he was still an amateur Nen user at best, and he fell victim to very basic Nen shenaniganry from Hisoka. And as underwhelming as it may be, I do think that's what you can expect to find in the other Floor Masters as well. Castro was considered to be an above average talent with a clear path to the top. He just needed one more victory to challenge a Floor Master, and then he was potentially one of them. But in the end, he was a whole lot of nothing. I mean, comparatively, that is. Which is always the tricky thing about Heaven's Arena. It produces a false impression of the world because as far as we know, hunters and like legitimately skilled Nen users don't actually participate there. Because why would they need to? Hunters make enough money for the rewards of Heaven's Arena to just be a joke, and in addition to that, it would risk putting their abilities on full display for any other Nen user watching to dissect. To the truly powerful of Hunter x Hunter, it really is only good for one thing, which is training gifted children. And with that in mind, I do always find it funny that both Gon and Killua had such a disappointed reaction to finding out that Battle Olympia was the end goal of Heaven's Arena, because compared to their goals in life, it just sounded wildly underwhelming. And speaking of wildly underwhelming, you might be wondering why I haven't mentioned something very integral to this discussion, which is one of the films, Hunter x Hunter: The Last Mission. Now, I don't talk about these films a lot, and there's good reason for that because they're not very good. But in this particular film, all 21 Floor Masters are revealed to us, and we even see the beginnings of the Battle Olympia tournament. And the reason why we see all of this is because it's not canon. A lot of people argue that it is because there's never been an official statement made, but it doesn't really fit continuity-wise, and a lot of the ideas and characters we're exposed to, well, they're just better off forgotten. Don't even get me started about On. But also being better off forgotten are the Floor Masters. In the film, these guys are as good as cannon fodder. In fact, there's a fairly hilarious moment where like 19 of the 21 Floor Masters, they're all in the same room, and each and every one of them are defeated fairly instantaneously by one man. And look, I know that Floor Masters are not all that great in the grand scheme of Hunter x Hunter, but they are bound to be much better than they're represented here. Then, possessed by On, a concept that once again I'm not going to get into here, half of them are then beaten by pre-Chimera Ant, Gon and Killua, whilst another half are casually taken care of by Kurapika. It's all a bit sad really, and I have a very hard time believing that Chairman Netero would bother presiding over this pack of nobodies, especially since the Hunter Association shows no interest in this arena, like I said, beyond training their gifted children. In the film, Hisoka also assigns his famed point score rating to one of the main antagonists, the same main antagonist who instantly defeated 19 of the Floor Masters at once, and Hisoka rates him at a mighty 65 points out of 100, which isn't too bad for him. It's more than most professional hunters during the election arc got, but it does go on to further minimize these non-canon Floor Masters because 65 is still pretty abysmal. Oh, and also fun fact, in the film Zushi has become a Floor Master, which is very impressive given that it doesn't take place too long after the events of Heaven's Arena. However, it also doesn't do a lot of favors for the perceived status of a Floor Master if it is a title that can be attained so easily by someone like Zushi. It doesn't matter though, like I said, it's not canon. In other non-canon events, the Floor Masters were also very briefly shown in the 1999 1999 anime. It's a very quick collage of random figures, which is very interesting because they are never shown in the manga or the 2011 anime, not even in like vague silhouettes. And I find this interesting because it shows what was in the minds of the anime craftspeople when constructing the scene. Obviously, the 1999 adaptation takes a lot of liberties, some of which are fun and some of which, well, they're there. But the fact that they felt comfortable enough to show the Floor Masters in a fair amount of detail likely shows how confident they were that Togashi would never really revisit the concept. Maybe he was a bit burnt out on tournament writing after Yu Hakusho, but in many ways I'm very glad that he didn't elect to pursue these ideas. In the end, Floor Masters and Heaven's Arena as a whole just were not relevant to any of our main characters, their pursuits, or the world at large. It almost feels like Togashi did this very purposely. A lot of the time you can say, and I have said this many times before, that Togashi starts writing an idea he's excited about and then abandons it in favor of whatever he becomes excited about midway through. And in this case, you could almost take it as an author's commentary on the concept of tournament arcs in general. You know, Togashi sets up this intricate, complex facility with a whole ranking system and a big promise showdown at the end, after which point his protagonists become noticeably uninterested in Heaven's Arena, seeing it as completely unnecessary to their own stories. Perhaps even going on to express the idea that tournament arcs don't actually do a whole lot for characters. In fact, a lot of the time they actively stall progression in favor of creating consistent and hopefully dramatically fueled action, leading to a guaranteed climax in the final battle. So as intriguing as it may have been to examine Floor Masters and Battle Olympia in a bit more depth, in the end I do think that Togashi may have created them for more of a parody style purpose. Something to acknowledge that Hunter x Hunter will not be following that particular shonen trope because, well, we've got better things to do, don't we? Things like spending an entire chapter laying out in painful detail how various types of auctions work. Because that's just Hunter x Hunter, and that's one of the big reasons why it stands apart as a completely unique experience. But for more unique experiences, do check out this video, this one right here. More Hunter x Hunter goodness coming your way, so I look forward to seeing you there.